You're on.
Okay.
Hang on, you have to unmute yourself, sweetie.
There we go. All right, now we're ready. Let's close our eyes and let's take a deep breath of gratitude for the weekend that we're experiencing, the extended holiday weekend, and for the presence of family members where that's been possible, and for the silence and the solitude where that's been possible, for the time for us to take with ourselves, and for the reflections that we have had about how this year has been and how our life has changed and where our intentions will be placed. So much to think about as this year comes to a close. And let's visualize our circle, a chain of strength and vitality and support in this never-ending circle that is like a breath. Some weeks it's this number, some weeks it's that number. It's an inhale and an exhale. And we're part of that. And let's ask those present and even those not present, but a part of our circle who need additional support to place themselves in the center of this vibrant circle and allow the love and the compassion and the acceptance and the strength of this circle to wash over them. I know we have several members of our Sangha who have challenges that are surfacing right now in their lives where they need extra love. So let's just flood love and compassion, open our heart space into the center of this circle, knowing that whomever has chosen to be in the center will be covered with this like a beautiful blanket across their shoulders. And that we have that love to give and to share, knowing that it will come back to us in abundance. And knowing that we can reach out to one another if we need to for additional support and comfort. Because this circle is made up of women who are inviting in those relationships and supporting them. And just take one moment to just feel the energy that circles around in this circle at a pace where there's like a spiral happening, letting that energy circle slowly at first and then increasing in its speed as we elevate our intention and our receptivity and our presence to one another. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes.
And you bring your palms towards your heart center into Namaskar, prayer pose. Long, deep breath. And you can gaze towards your hands, or you can close your eyes again. Feel the movement of your belly, your rib cage, and your chest on your inhalation, as well as on the exhalation. Letting in and letting go. And a constant flow throughout the day too. Good, and then we tune in Inhale deeply. Inhale deeply, suspend your breath. And exhale. Good. So this morning, I would like for you to all come standing up. You don't need much space. You just need the space where you can stand. Because I thought we moved the turkey a little bit through our body. Yeah. So we will just do 4 little movements, but these movements are extremely powerful, very supportive. Number 1 for our digestion, number 2 for our circulation and our heart. And if these 3 facets are solid, and then it's easier for us to have right speech. So in the beginning, I want you to have your hands like in a triangle, fingers, the thumb tips touch, the index fingers touch, and you have soft knees. You take this mudra, this hand position out, and you just clap against below your belly button. Just, I shared yesterday in class, our intestine is 6 times our height. Yeah, so when we eat meat, it takes around 72 hours for the meat to go through our intestines. And that's where the little challenge comes in. Because inside of us, there's always summer. So there's always warmth. So and the meat tends to linger in the folds. And we want to just clap here and get the energy moving. This is really great if you have constipation. Like 100 of these claps a day, it's like called maintenance. And if you really have constipation, you work it up to 1,000 a day. It sounds a lot, but it's actually not. You can do it throughout the day. But it will get the energy moving. So we just keep going for a little bit because we need to digest our life. Yeah. Think of everything that you ate yesterday. Just imagine you're helping now your body to process, to digest, and to eliminate. With a simple movement. A little bit more. And the arms are fully relaxed. Just a little bit more. And if you do it at home, you will see if you count to 100, it goes like quick. It's very quick. This is a great, simple cleanse posture. Okay, now you place your right hand below your belly button, left hand on top, and just do 3 rotations, going to the right, up, to the left and down, helping your ascending colon. Good, reverse the direction. And then we just go up and down a few times. And you can rest your hands here. Inhale into your hands. Exhale, open mouth. 2 more times. Well, on Thanksgiving, a lot of people eat a lot and drink a lot. So now we go into our liver. Also very simple. I want you to continue with your soft knees, slight pigeon toes, and your arms are very loose and you swing them around. You inhale to the left, exhale right. And the arms touching the body when you swing from side to side. Now you're wringing out your liver, helping the liver to get decongested. See if you can look over your shoulder that's moving backward. Strong breath. The liver needs to be twisted. And often in our daily life, there are not many movements where we twist our body. This is a very simple and healthy one. It doesn't need rocket science to do this, so it's for everyone. You can share it with your family and friends. Nothing you can do wrong with these ones. The last 20. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last 10. The last one. And then place your right hand onto your liver, left hand on top, and just for a moment send loving thoughts and energy into your liver. It's the reservoir of your blood. In some traditions where they say that's where the soul resides. And then we care for our lungs now. So still pigeon toes, soft knees, arms are parallel in front of you. You bend the arms gently, the palms facing down. Your hands are hanging off your wrist. You inhale through the nose and you exhale open mouth. You keep your head up. You're not leaning forward. You're just bending your knees on the exhalation like this. Look forward. Really make the sound ha, H-A, to release and to let go, to get the stale air out of your lungs. Last 10. Soft arms. So if you want to get rid of them. Good. And place your hands onto your chest. Breathe into your hands. And imagine the work these lungs do for you. Probably between 22, 24, 26,000 breaths a day. Just a moment of gratitude. Might be very appreciated by your lungs. And your heart thrives on air. Well, it's the element associated with it. Okay, last movement. It's called the breath of joy. So it's 3 inhalations, 1 exhalation. And it also works the brain. So don't get frustrated or impatient. It takes a little until the brain connects with this movement. Once we get it, it's in. So it's 3 segmented inhalation through the nostril, 1 exhalation through the open mouth. You bring your arms out to the side. And it's inhale, inhale, inhale up, exhale. Inhale, 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 inhale. Just do your best. Energizing your heart, your lungs, and your brain. Last 2. Good. Inhale up, sweep through your auric field. Exhale down 2 more times. Inhale up. Exhale, open mouth. 1 more time. Rest your hands below your belly button and on your heart. Take a moment to let the energy settle. Good. Okay, and we come sitting down.
Thank you, Siddhi.
You're welcome, love.
Okay, so namaste, namaskaram, beautiful ladies. So nice to see your faces today. Joy emanates from consciousness of spirit. Let's think about that for a moment. Joy emanates from consciousness of spirit. In the Eastern tradition, you'll hear the word ananda, bliss, joy. Those are attributes and qualities that are associated with enlightened conscious beings. And the goal of life, if you can say that we have one, or if we would like to articulate one, is to liberate ourselves into pure consciousness, to release us from the talons of fear and anxiety and doubt, no matter what the context is of our external situation, that our internal experience of this life is joy. And the way for us to manage that is for us to be in a state of increasing and expanding our consciousness through all of the activities and the experiences that we're having in this embodied form. And as we learn to live in that expanded consciousness, the weight of fear and anxiety and doubt and the unknown will still be present, but it's not experienced the same way. So if we say our joy emanates from the consciousness of spirit, then we want our spirit to have risen to the height of consciousness, however high that can be for each of us. We're all individuals starting in our own separate places. But if that is our mindset, if we have that as our line of focus, that we want to become more conscious in this life, and that extends to everything. There have been beautiful books written on, conscious economy, conscious custodianship for the environment, conscious abundance. Everything, all of the beautiful ways that we live out the embodied form have unconscious experiences and conscious experiences related to them. How can we be in the consciousness of spirit as heightened as possible for every activity that we're doing, whether we're grocery shopping or getting our car washed or washing our car or taking care of somebody who needs help or making a cup of tea. That beautiful Japanese process of tea making, of making that act of creating a cup of tea something sacred and conscious. Every breath, if we're following it as an inhale and an exhale, there's a consciousness there. So much of our life becomes rote, how it is that we just get up and do the same thing, a pattern, breaking patterns so that there's a consciousness in the movement through the activity, not just, we don't want to get in the car and end out somewhere and say, I don't even remember how I got here. I drove, but I don't even remember how I got here. That we want to be alert and alive and vibrant in every second of every breath. And so why do I keep bringing Buddhism? Why are we studying a little bit about Buddhism as part of this journey? And I'm going to give you several reasons why we're doing that. Buddhism is essentially a tool, a methodology, or a lens that we can use to observe our behaviors, our habits, our patterns, any of the activities that we bring to an experience that change how it is that we're living into that activity. So all of our behaviors and our habits and our patterns impact how we experience something. If we want to experience something new, even though it's an old experience or an old activity, but we want a new way of experiencing it, we have to strip down our habits and our patterns and our responses so that they're new. We have space for a new one. I can respond to the same exact inquiry or request from someone in a multitude of ways. But if I've built up a habit of how I respond to that type of inquiry, I haven't given myself the opportunity to respond differently. Buddhism gives us a tool or many tools to use so that we're really paying attention to how it is that we are present in the world. And that's our consciousness. How is it that we're conscious is how are we present? Our presence is linked, our presence and awareness is linked to our consciousness. So Buddhism heightens our awareness because we're paying attention to all of these small pieces of how we show up in the world. And it starts with the Eightfold Path, which gives us our actions around this are a result of the Four Noble Truths, which Buddha studied and found were a framework for living into the world. So Buddhism is a system of discipline which can be followed by anyone, regardless of your tradition beliefs. It doesn't matter what, there isn't a vernacular of the divine in Buddhism. There's no God or surrender or heaven. There aren't terms that are dogmatic or they give us constraints around integrating Buddhism with another belief system that we have. So Buddhism becomes really just a tool. You can be a Buddhist and live into it in very definitive, detailed ways, or you can use Buddhism as a framework around how we are in the world and how we pay attention to how we are in the world. Buddhism integrates the mental aliveness of thought with the heart journey. It's a skill, and it's also a way of being. It's a skill and a way of being into the world, which is really beautiful. So to recap the Four Noble Truths, just as a baseline for us, Buddha said that all existence is suffering. He said, basically, our happiness is a judgment of our external experience and our expectations of that experience. So if the external experience is what we expect or would like it to be, then there's an experience of happiness or joy or contentedness. If it isn't, then there's suffering. Ultimately, because our external world is shifting and changing in every moment, it's highly unlikely that the entirety of it will be to our liking. So we're going to find places where, if we allow it to be, they'll become suffering for us. So Buddhism will give us a way to look at that differently so that we don't have to experience the randomness, seemingly randomness of the external world as an internal experience. And he says, is his number 2 of the Four Noble Truths, that the cause of suffering is craving, that we crave things to be a certain way. We grasp at things that we want as an outcome, and we push things away that we don't want to include in our life. I like this, I don't like that. I want this, I don't want that. This is good, this is bad. By labeling all of our experiences, we put them into one bag or another. And this grasping and pushing creates a duality that actually pushes us further away from reality and unity. It keeps us in these opposites. It's really, really helpful for us when we're experiencing things and we notice that judgments come up around it, that I normally don't like it. This is too cold for me, or this isn't the environment I like to be in, or this isn't the food I like to eat. When we find ourselves immediately jumping to a conclusion, we haven't given ourselves to have a new way of experiencing something. We have to be open enough to say that whatever comes to me today has a possibility of expanding me in so many brilliant ways that I can't even understand. But grasping at things to stay the same as I had it yesterday, or pushing away things that don't feel comfortable, will become still part of our suffering. That'll just keep us in the suffering mode. And Buddha said, as the fourth way of, or the third, is that suffering, there is a possibility of stopping suffering. And this is our attitude, how we see the world, how we decide to live into the world. And his fourth noble truth is that the path has been written and he's given it to us as an eightfold path. So Buddha assessed what he felt was the human condition, and then he gave a solution for how living into it differently. It's very simple. And from a Buddhist standpoint, was very clear. And so we've already covered the first 2 steps of the Eightfold Path. We've covered the right view or right understanding. And in the case of Buddhism, it's been interpreted that right is not a moral judgment, meaning the opposition of bad or wrong. It actually means right in that it leads us to the happiness of oneself or others. It's liberation. Right means liberation, not that it's the correct way. It isn't in a dogmatic way, it's in a liberation of the spirit and of the experience. So right understanding or right view, again, is for us to see life as it really is. If we can't see it as it really is, we have a difficult time adjusting. It's very hard to follow the unfolding of a situation when we actually have made it to be something it isn't. So we have changed how it's unfolding because we're uncomfortable or we fear something around it. And we're trying to track it and figure out how to respond. But you can't respond to something that you haven't even seen in its correct presence yet. So we have to first see things for what they are so that we can then have an appropriate response. So we're making it harder for ourselves when we try to spin something or to adapt it in a way that isn't really in alignment with what it is. So our first step in right view and right understanding is receiving things for what they are. So we can then have an action out of that, not out of something that is not in truth. And dividing that into the absolute truths, which we've talked about, eternal truth, which is unchanging, or the truths that are relative. Most of our day is spent in relative truth. It's true right now that it's cold outside, but if I ask the same question of myself in 4 hours, it's going to be pleasant and warm. So truth of now is not the truth in the next second, the next hour, the rest of the day. It's just right now. So if I take that truth and I want to extend it as ultimate eternal truth, I'm going to get into trouble because it isn't. So when I see someone's behavior and then I decide that's how they always are, so I label them, you're always lazy or you're always criticizing or whatever it is, then I've decided that's how it is into perpetuity. I'm not allowing it to become something else. And that's just not right view or right understanding, because that behavior of someone is going to be constantly changing. And if you get it stuck in one place for yourself, that's how you're going to experience it always. That judgment of yours will jump in immediately before the person has even had a chance or an opportunity to say something different. So we create scenarios for ourselves that are repeats of the old ones. So it's really fun to go into a situation and allow it to be completely fresh and new, even though you've been in that similar situation with maybe the same exact people and you already have an idea how it could unfold. Allow yourself to not walk down that path, to just stop at the beginning of the path and wait and see. Without the predisposition for something to be a certain way, we can be surprised in every second. And when we give individuals and situations the opportunity to unfold differently, typically they do. How often our experience and our expectation clouds how the outcome is. There's so many tests and studies about observer being the observer, and how as an observer, scientifically, as an observer of a situation, the outcome changes. An unobserved situation and an observed situation, same situation, observed and unobserved, have different outcomes. So just how we observe something and decide it's going to be is going to change how it is. It's very powerful. It also can be really critical to allowing things to unfold in their own natural beauty, because we've already decided something. So letting go of those judgments. We think of judgments as being great, big, huge ideas around something, but actually it's the smallest little thing that we have where we're already in a conclusion about something, tiny little judgments that we make all day long. We string them together. We have to pay attention to those little things. It's not the big overarching. It's the little tiny pieces of our day where we've already decided something's going to work or not work. So we're keeping ourselves in a narrow experiential pathway. So right understanding and right view we've experienced. Right intention we talked about last week, which is Sankappa, our commitment to a personal change or a direction, to actually state an intention and then live into it and use it in all aspects of our life. So the third aspect of the Eightfold Path is right speech. And Buddha explains right speech with respect to very specific ways that we are with our speech. So I'm going to tell you what those are, but of course, speech it's everywhere we communicate. So it's tone, it's how it sounds, it's intention behind it. But he spoke about it very specifically about abstaining from lying, abstaining from divisive speech, abusive speech, or idle chatter, which I think is the most important, how often we're adding words to a situation simply to add when they're not even necessary or useful. But I think if we look at speech and we imagine that the counterpoint to speech is listening, I want to leave us with this today because I want to take this into next week. It's such a powerful point that if we look at the counterpoint to speech as listening, what is the most powerful thing we can do in a conversation? It isn't speech, it's listening. So how do we cultivate our listening so that our speech becomes more effective? You will speak and contribute differently if you're listening deeply. So this week, I'd like us to take the time to practice the art of listening so that right speech becomes an easier process for us. So along with looking with our right view and right understanding and using our intention to then use our listening, the quality of listening, to impact how it is we contribute back with our actual words. Knowing that fewer words, well-chosen words, are more effective than more words. Less is more. So I'm going to leave us with that for this week. And we'll talk about how listening has worked for you and how that's uncovered possibilities for you in the next week.
Great, thank you. It so reminded me of what you said. One of my teachers always said, in listening, you create. No, often you don't take that to heart. So I want us to take our right palm up. Our left thumb goes into the right palm. Now we go back to the mudra for the voice, giving me work on right speech. So then you wrap your fingers around your left thumb. You align your index fingers with all these knuckles. And then the tip of your thumb touches the tip of your middle finger. I say it again. So left thumb into the right palm. Wrap your fingers around the left thumb. Align the index finger with the knuckles. And the middle finger tip and the tip of your thumb is touching. And then you just hold this mudra. It's a mudra to actually enhance your voice, your speech. And then I thought today, like what Nirmala said, there is not this one truth. We all have different truth and different experiences. So but it's beautiful to honor one's own truth and live by it, and to honor also everybody else's truth. So in Sikhism, there's this saying Sat Nam, S-A-T, Sat, and then Nam. Sat stands for truth, and Nam for your identity. So we find the truth in our name in the truth. And we bow to each other's truth. So I want you to mentally recite on the inhalation Sat, and mentally recite on your exhalation Nam. And just stay with Sat Nam. Bowing to my truth, bowing to your truth, bowing to the truth. I remind the time. If you like, close your eyes and go inward. Mentally reciting Sat, exhaling Nam. Or take a deep inhalation. Open mouth exhale. 2 more times. And then we come into prayer pose. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May we all be listening this week to the quality of our listening. Thank you so much for joining. Have a beautiful week. We'll see you next week. I will keep the music a little going.